Well, the verdict is in. Sean Diddy Combs has been convicted on 2 counts of transportation of his ex-girlfriends to engage in prostitution, but cleared of the most serious charges against him. The music mogul has been found not guilty of racketeering conspiracy and 2 counts of sex trafficking. The charges he has been found guilty of are connected to his 2 former partners, including singer Cassie Ventura and a former girlfriend being referred to as Jane. In the U.S., it is a crime to knowingly transport any person with the intent that they engage in prostitution or illegal sexual activity. The 12-person jury deliberated for 3 days before reaching the verdict. The maximum penalty for each of the 2 guilty counts is 10 years in prison plus a fine.
How you feeling?
Not bad. How are you?
Anything you want the public to know?
Not yet. We'll be saying something soon. Thanks.
We're hopeful that ultimately he receives a substantial sentence for what he's done, and we're pleased that Cassie's brought to light everything that has happened in this trial. I just spoke with her and with the U.S. Attorney's Office team, and she's in a good place. She's pleased that the jury has found him guilty of 2 federal crimes.
It's absolutely a win. The defense took a really big gamble going to trial on this case. Really, any time that a defendant chooses to go to trial against the federal government, it's a big gamble. They have a lot in their favor, and it really paid off for Combs. The difficulty that I saw for the prosecution in this case was this continued coming back to the idea of there being this criminal enterprise. So there didn't really seem to be any question that Combs was engaging in behavior that we might not like, that certainly might in some instances be criminal. But the question was, could the government really show that there was this criminal enterprise? And that appears to be, and in fact was, where they fell short, because the jury said, no, there's not enough here. So we had the 2 counts of sex trafficking, which he was found not guilty of, and then 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution, which he was found guilty of. And the key difference between the 2, and the reason why it appears that the jury made the decision that they made, is because with respect to the 2 charges of sex trafficking, there was a requirement that the jury find that the transportation, so to speak, that was forced or coerced, or that some kind of fraud was involved in that. And the jury just did not find that the government met their burden there. They did, however, agree that there was transportation of individuals for the purpose of prostitution, and that's why we see the 2 guilty verdicts on those counts. The number one thing that the defense team did right was they embraced what I call the bad facts, right? So instead of fighting against everything, instead of, taking that awful video from the hotel and saying, it's not what you think it is, he's not hurting her. They took responsibility on Combs' behalf and said, we take responsibility for this behavior. This was wrong. This was not right. And in fact, if this case was a domestic abuse case, we wouldn't be sitting here because he is guilty of that. But members of the jury, let us point you to all the places where the government has not met its burden. And that's where they were clearly very successful.